Hi, well, good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. My name is Chad Allgood. I'm one of the co-directors of the Division of Early Childhood Care and Development here at the Department of Human Services. Welcome to our information sharing session this morning. I apologize, we had to miss last month. We had another meeting, a conflict, so we had to postpone that one and reschedule for this month. We appreciate everybody taking your time to join us this morning. I'll just introduce some of the other folks from DECCD that are here with us today. I have Laura Dixon, who is one of the deputy directors of the division and also our policy director. Also have Angela Crockett, who is the other deputy director of the division, and Angela also oversees the child care payment program. Most of you are probably familiar with her. I also have Ashley Roper, who is our project coordinator for the division. My co-director, Vicki Lowry, is also on the call. Vicki and I are co-directors of the division. I'm trying to see if I missed anybody else. I know we've got some other folks. If I missed you, I'm sorry. We've got some of our trainers from the field that are joining us today as well. Some representatives from the Resource and Referral Network as well that are on the call. So we're really glad that everybody's on here. If I missed anybody from my office, I apologize. I'm just doing a quick check. Oh, okay. There she is. All right. So also joining us is Lydia Bethay. And Lydia oversees our design and implementation of our programs. So also glad to have her with us today. Many of you have probably done our information sharing sessions before, but for those of you that may be new, I'll just kind of explain how we do these. What we'll do, we'll spend just the first few minutes of the session just giving some updates on what we've got going on here at the division. And then we'll spend the rest of the time answering any questions that you all may have. In the interest of keeping down on a lot of feedback and making sure that everyone has an opportunity to get their questions in, to ask a question, you need to type that in the chat box. And then one of my folks, they're going to kind of they'll be monitoring the chat box and posing those questions. It may be a question that I can answer. It may be a question that Angela or Laura, Ashley, Vicki, Lydia may answer. But that's why we do these, is just to give you all an opportunity to hear directly from us about what's going on, and then give you all an opportunity to ask us questions directly. So like I said, if you do have any questions, you just type those in the chat box and we'll get to all your questions. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. I know everyone's time is precious and we don't want to keep you any longer than we have to. So we do have a few updates today. I know that a lot of you are curious about, I know a lot of you have heard that we have received new funding. We have in fact received the American Rescue Plan funds from the federal government. It was broken up into two. Award amounts. We have received that funding, but we have not received the guidance from the Office of Child Care yet. And while we have, been making some prospective, plans for the funding, we are going to wait until we actually get, do get the full guidance from the federal government before we start making more formal plans. What we intend to do, we've already been in contact with the task force that we pulled together with the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've already let them know that we are awaiting guidance, but in the meantime, we have asked them to reach out to their constituents, the memberships from their different from their different associations, their different networks, from you all, to get some feedback from you about what are some things that we can do with this funding that is going to, help sustain you all, but also make some long-term impact. But the key here is any changes that we make, we do want that to be sustainable in the long run, and we want to make sure that whatever we put in place is beneficial to you all. And we don't want to do anything that might inadvertently cause more damage. We do admit that it is a good bit of, it is a lot of funding, and this presents itself with a very great opportunity, and we don't want to waste it. We want to be very mindful. We want to be very responsible with how we put the funds to use. What I can tell you is, like I said, there are two pots of money. One of the pots of money is called the Stabilization Funds. Now, what we do know about those stabilization funds, and that amount comes out to it comes out to just over $319 million. Those stabilization funds are going to go to child care centers. We don't exactly know what all the requirements are going to be from the Office of Child Care regarding putting those funds to use. We do know that the American Rescue Plan requires that the funding be based on the operations of the child care facility. So again, we don't know exactly what that means in its fullest extent yet, but we should be receiving guidance from the Office of Child Care, hopefully within the coming month. And as soon as we get that guidance, we are going to pull the task force together. We're going to talk to them about some of what we've got in mind for the funding, get feedback from them, and that's all I have in the way of updates from that. So just y'all just try to sit tight. I know we're all anxious to get some of this work going. Just sit tight for now. So what we're going to do with a couple of the other programs we have in place is the enrollment-based reimbursement and reimbursing at the enhanced rate. We are definitely going to continue these two things through December 2021. Now you'll notice that the co-payments is not on this list, and let me explain why. We are going to continue to cover co-payments as long as we possibly can. And originally our plan was to use funding, use some of our consolidated appropriation, it's the CRSA Act, the Coronavirus Response Act. But what we have heard with this new with this new law with the American Rescue Plan is that the funding that is included in the stabilization funds can be used for co-payments. So what we're waiting to, again, one of the questions that we have posed to the Office of Child Care is, does that mean that we can no longer use other funding to cover co-payments? But one way or the other, regardless, there will be funding to cover those co-payments, whether we continue to do so as we are with our CRSA funding, or if we have to use stabilization funds to cover those co-payments. And that's all the information I have right now regarding co-payments. But like I said, we are waiting from the guidance from the federal government. So what was our next? Right, and Laura just put in the chat, we have a waiver right now that we submitted to the feds that allows us to cover co-payments through September 30th. And we're waiting to determine or to hear back from the Office of Child Care if we can continue beyond September 30th with those co-payments using our CRSA funds. Let's see. So the next thing that I wanted to mention is we're in the process of having the market rate survey being conducted. We've contracted the Social Science Research Center at Mississippi State University to do the market rate survey. We had a series of meetings with the Social Science Research Center a few weeks ago to kind of, with you all, you had the opportunity to join those sessions to kind of find out more about what the survey was. We're asking you, please, please, please participate if you're contacted by the Social Science Research Center. If they contact you, please participate. This is the way that we can ensure that when we're looking at our reimbursement rates, that we are setting them at levels that are helping you meet your operating costs. We want to make sure that we are setting reimbursement rates at what the market rate is. And this is the way that we can best ensure that we are in fact doing that. So if you are contacted by SSRC, please, 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 please take some time and participate. It's very, very, very important. Finally, we emailed out, Laura sent out an email about the CCDF state plan. It has the different sections, and we are allowing you all to comment on the state plan right now. Now, please keep in mind, this does not take the place of the public hearing. We will have a public hearing on the state plan as well, but we are encouraging everyone to give us input before that date. So we will hold the state plan hearing. It will be virtual, and we hopefully will be sending out the date for that in the next few days. So watch your email. Laura put the link to the form that allows you to comment on the state plan in the chat. So if you haven't, or if you didn't get that email, or if you've been kind of looking for that email, you can click that link and save it to give us some feedback on the state plan. So in terms of updates, that's all I have, unless anyone from my team has anything else they want to add or mention. If not, Angela, we can go ahead and take some questions.
Chad, did you want to give an update on direct deposit?
Direct deposit, yeah.
Okay. Ashley, did you want to say something about?
I'll just, y'all should be receiving some letters, just making you aware that it is coming. We're in the final stages, and you should be receiving, hopefully they'll start going out maybe mid to late next week. You should start getting either an email and a physical letter for how to register for the direct deposit. And hopefully we can make this go live for that first check run in June.
Yeah, so we're still on target. Hopefully the first check run in June, we'll be able to make that available via direct deposit. So we're still on target for that. Thank you, Ashley. That's some good news.
That's it. Okay. All right. The first question says, Chad, I heard you mention in a recent meeting, the DHS is revisiting the child support requirement in CCPP. What changes is DHS contemplating, and what is the status of that?
We did, in fact, we are in fact looking at the child support requirement and whether or not that will continue. We've really looked at, we've been looking at the current policy on that. I will say a thank you to the Mississippi Low Income Child Care Initiative. They supplied us with a brief that had some really good information about the child care cooperation requirement, looking at the benefit of removing it, or and I will say we have made our recommendations to our administration, and our administration is taking our recommendation into consideration, and we are awaiting a response from that.
The next question is, when will the CCAC website resume?
That is not, that will be a question for CCAC itself. MDHS, we are no longer overseeing the hosting of the CCAC website. What we've been doing is we've been in the past few years, the CCAC website represented what we called the consumer education website, which is one of the requirements of the CCDF program. We're navigating that the consumer education website now to our MDHS DECCD website, and it's still a process. We're trying to get things migrated over. We're also in the process of revamping the website. I know right now it's a little difficult to navigate. Just please be patient. We are working on fixing that, making it easier for you all to navigate, for you to find the information that you need. But as far as when the CCAC website, when and if it will be back up, I don't know. I do know the CCAC is having its first meeting tomorrow. And I don't know if that question will be addressed or not.
All right, the next question. What about December? We told our parents December. I think the question is referring to co-payments.
Yeah, so with the co-payments, like I said, that's a question that we pose to the Office of Child Care. If it really comes down to what their decision is. We're hopeful that we will be allowed to continue to keep our waiver in place, possibly, so we can continue to use our CURSA funds to pay the co-payments. Again, we will just be watching your email. If for whatever reason, whatever changes may take place, we'll let you all know. But if we cannot use CURSA funds to continue to cover co-payments, like I said, the stabilization funds, we do know that in the law it is written that co-payments can be covered in the stabilization funds. And the stabilization funds that is the funding that we made available to child care providers. So I'm sorry, I don't have a definite answer for you just yet. But that is one of the high priority items that we are, like I said, we've posed the question to the Office of Child Care so we can get some guidance from the federal government as soon as possible.
The next question said, did you state that there were two funding sources, the stabilization fund with $319 million, and what is the second funding source through the American Rescue Plan? So
the second amount of money, it was also through the American Rescue Plan. It is an expansion of the Child Care Development Block Grant funding, and that amount came in at just under 200 million. It was about 199,344,000 and some change. So those are funds that they're separate from the stabilization funds. And all the details about exactly how that money can be used, again, that's why we're waiting for the guidance from the federal government. I don't want to speculate on how exactly it can be used. We do know that the law, had different allowances, possibly opening up more certificates. We can, possibly use it for other professional development opportunities. The question really is, how do we use that in conjunction with our other CCDBG funds? And it does allow us to use it, as Laura said in the chat, regular activities. But again, we do know that there will be guidance on exactly how that money can be used in conjunction with our other CCDBG funds. And again, that's why we're waiting for guidance from the feds.
The next question says, what about the direct deposit? I'm not sure if they came in late or not.
Yeah, so we are, Ashley shared that direct deposit, you all should be getting an email and a physical letter about being able to sign up for direct deposit. We are going to be able to offer you all direct deposit at no cost to you, which is, I hope will be a welcome change for you all. I know paper checks are tedious, and I think this will help make sure that you get funds a lot quicker. it'll be a lot more efficient for us to get our payouts to you. We are on target right now. The first payout in June should be available through direct deposit if you sign up. But be watching for the email. Be watching for the email, and like I said, there is a letter about signing up for direct deposit.
And one will come through snail mail as well, Chad. So
Right, you'll get an email, but then also a physical letter in the mail.
the next question: why are we having so many problems with our parents being terminated for not responding to their redetermination when we are making sure that they have sent in their documents? This is a serious problem that's not being addressed. I'll take that one if that's okay, Chad. We are receiving documents. We're receiving documents more now than ever. You guys have to remember one thing, that although we are receiving the documents, the parent still has to be eligible for the program, meeting the requirements of the program. We have updated our letter not to be so vague when we send out the information on what is still missing for the parent. And so when they're getting their letters, it is in red that says, hey, it's being very specific in what's happening. So once those parents are receiving those notices, tell them to keep an eye out on their email, because that is being very clear on what's going on and what they need to send in. So it's not that we're not receiving your documents. We are receiving documents. It's just that if the parent is not meeting the requirements of the program, that causes them to terminate if they're not eligible for the program anymore. The next question is, do you know if the Department of Health will lessen the COVID restrictions for childcare centers by this summer?
I'm not sure which restrictions you're referring to. The Department of Health, they operate outside of Department of Human Services. As far as I know, child care programs have been allowed to operate as is. I know that there were some additional guidelines, some recommendations. I don't know if they did put additional restrictions. I'm not aware of those, but if they did, that's something that you need to address with your licensing official. Just reach out to your licensing official and ask them about that.
This one had a comment. Yes, we have parents that have not been reinstated. Some are still being terminated. We can't operate without our kids. Like I said, parents have to respond to redetermination. We're no longer in that emergency temporary hold. They have to respond to redetermination, and they have to send in and meet the requirements of the program. Will the parents start paying copays in November? Is the next question.
With the copayments, that's one of the questions that we're waiting guidance from the Office of Child Care. We have asked them. Our original plan was to use our CARSA funds to cover copayments through December of this year. The American Rescue Plan indicated in the Stabilization Funds, had included that Stabilization Funds could be used to cover copayments. So that's one of the questions that we have posed to the Office of Child Care to find out if that means we have to discontinue using CARSA funds, or we'll be allowed to continue that. But y'all try to sit tight until we get that guidance from the feds. Hopefully we're going to receive that, and word on the street is we should be getting guidance by the end of this month.
The next question is, will it be a requirement to be vaccinated?
Vaccination requirements, things of that nature. We have not seen anything in the from the federal government to that extent. Vaccination requirements, things like that, are not mandated by the Department of Human Services. That's really that would be potentially a Department of Health, a state law type thing. I can't answer that question. I don't anticipate there being mandatory vaccinations, but that's really something that's way above my pay grade to answer that question. Sorry.
And Debbie said, bravo. And then how am I able to reach out to a supervisor for help when I'm not able to get answers resolved with the desk reps? Many times they're not able to answer a certain question. Are there direct supervisor lines? Because I have yet to receive a call back. Someone should be able to handle matters beyond that explanation. There is a supervisor who can call you back. And I will reach out to you, Ms. Ross, and give you that information. But the 1-800 number is where you would get that, and then you can ask to speak to a supervisor. Laura posted that American Rescue Plan Act gives state funding two purposes: stabilization funding for providers and discretionary funding to be used on regular city activities. Questions concerning the ledger that is it still enrollment based? I have called several times this morning about the codes I was supposed to use and was told something different, and they could not explain why. I cannot fix my ledger without some answers. We are still in enrollment based ledgers, and the codes are still D and R. If the child is absent from your center, you still can use those emergency codes of D and R. If the child is in attendance, it's F and P.
Angela, you may repeat that one more time, just make sure
Okay.
everybody got it.
The emergency codes for your ledgers, if the child is not in attendance, it's D and R. D is for full-time, R is for part-time school-age children. If they are in attendance, then the codes would be F and P. You would still mark them as F and P.
So emergency codes, so if they're not in attendance, it's a G.
D and R.
D, okay, D is in
D is in
dog,
dog.
and then R is in Rose.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And then what were the other two for?
If they are in attendance, F and P. The emergency codes should still be listed on the ledger for reference. We haven't removed them. Okay. If we choose not to get direct deposit, can we still get a paper check?
Yes, we're still allowing people, we will still process paper checks for those that do not elect to participate in direct deposit.
What date of month is direct deposit coming? Or will begin on?
So the plan, we're on target right now that the first check run in June will be available via direct deposit.
And Chad, this is a good question. We've been getting quite a bit of calls on this one. So do we have to have an account with the regions to participate in direct deposit, or can we use our own bank account?
Ashley, can you grab that question?
Sorry, I had to find the unmute button. Yes, you will not, this is only a way to transport the funds from our account into yours through what they call ACH. You can have whatever bank you want. You will just, when you sign up, provide us with the account. Or you're not providing us with it, you're providing it directly to a third party that regions use. It's called FIS, and you'll see that information on some of the letters that you receive as well. But they are the hosting site, and you will put in your account number, your routing number that's pertinent to your bank, and those funds get direct deposited into your account. So no, you do not have to have a regions account.
Thank you, Ashley. So the answer is no, you do not have to have a regions account. It's just the way that we're transferring the funds. It will transfer to whatever your bank account, wherever that is. Let me say this really quick. I see some questions about some specific questions about vouchers. We will look at all those, but if you do have a question specific about a specific voucher, about a specific family or child or specific case, those need to be addressed by either calling the 1-800 number or emailing the CC Payments email. But we can answer some more generalized questions about vouchers. Yeah.
This one says, why parents are not paying their own copays? They should be able to from all the extra funds they are receiving instead of using funds from the centers.
So the reason we put the covering the copay policy in place, we did so. It does two things. It removes that financial burden from families. And I don't really want to get into a debate about whether or not parents can afford it, but in this particular time and place, we had the funding that was there, and we felt that it would be good to offer that financial relief to parents. But it also helps us to ensure that you all are receiving the full reimbursement rate. It was the single easiest way for us to ensure that you were getting that full amount. And it also alleviated the administrative burden of you all from having to collect those copayments. And keep in mind, copayments do not represent the difference in your tuition rate and the subsidy rate. If your tuition rate is higher, than what our reimbursement rate is, then parents can pay that. What the copayment is that the copayment is the parent's portion of the subsidy reimbursement that you receive. So that's what, when we say that we're covering copayments, that's what we're referring to. We're referring to the parent's portion that they would normally have to pay for subsidy. But if your tuition rate goes above what the subsidy rate is, then that's up to the provider if you are going to charge the difference in your tuition rate and the subsidy rate that we provide.
The next question, will we receive another booster funds?
We probably are not going to do quote booster shots per se, but the stabilization funds that we received through the American Rescue Plan, and that's the larger chunk of money. It's the $319,476,474. Those are funds that are to go to child care providers, and that is going to be in the form of financial assistance from you all.
Do you know of any trainings that are available for team members to stay certified? We have new recruits coming and I want to stay in compliance.
Which type of training are you, like, what are we talking about? It could be health and safety training. Is that what we're referring to?
It's a pretty broad question, Chad.
Okay. I do know the health department is doing the health and safety trainings, and we are aware that those are filling up very quickly. We've been talking to the health department about opening more of those up and looking at some other options to make those a little bit easier. The key here is we don't want the health and safety training. We want it to be something meaningful. One of the things that we hear from, that I've heard from directors, and I heard this was a comment that was heard multiple times when we had our town halls in November of last year, was that a lot of directors feel that teachers need to be better prepared about what they need to do in the classroom. And in that regard, we're trying to look at the health and safety training as an opportunity to do some of that. But that being said, we also want to make sure that we have enough health and safety training opportunities out there for you to take advantage of. So I see several of you have mentioned that it's really difficult to get in those. I'm taking note of that. And again, we are trying to work with the health department to make sure that they're offering that enough that you all have that opportunity. And like I said, looking at some other ways to make sure, that you all can get all your folks into the health and safety training.
All right, it was in more banking questions. And then this one says, the training session listed on the calendar close up or fill up almost as soon as they're posted on the calendar. We need more sessions or better means of delivery. Is there additional ways to receive mandatory trainings?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we're talking, that we actually had a discussion with the health department last week about that. And there may be an opportunity for the virtual training. We are looking at all those options. But we did hear a lot of complaints about the way the health and safety training was being done before. And so we're trying to look at another way, another way to make sure that the health and safety training, like I said, it's beneficial to your staff, it's beneficial to your program. But again, we want to make sure that you all can access it, if have access to training, so all your folks can get through it. We're working on it.
Other states have received and dispersed funding. Does everyone not get the same information?
I don't know exactly what funding you're referring to. Keep in mind, there's been CARES funding, there's been CRSA funding, now there's American Rescue Plan funding. I don't know what source, like when you say other states have received and dispersed funding, I'm assuming, you're talking about CRSA funding, which we are dispersing CRSA funding now. We are covering it. We are doing those 3 programs, and we've we have some other things that we're using with our CRSA funding. In terms of the American Rescue Plan funding, I don't know if other states are already dispersing it. I can say no other states have received the guidance from the feds. So if they are dispersing this funding, they're doing so at their own risk, because no states have received official guidance from the Office of Child Care. I was actually on a phone call with our Region 4 representative yesterday and asked him specifically when we were going to be receiving guidance, and he said it's coming.
Some parents completed a redetermination a couple of months ago and received their certificate for continued approval. However, they received another redetermination notice to complete another redetermination. Why is it necessary to complete another redetermination so soon? So I can explain that. When we first began the pandemic, we sent out the notices letting the providers and parents know that we were going to be doing temporary emergency certificates for those parents who had lost their jobs or were not meeting the requirements of the program. We were not kicking them off or removing them from the program, but they would receive a temporary emergency certificate. Those certificates are now, so those parents have been in that. So that's why you receive that, but that was not the regular certificate. Your parents are receiving the redetermination notice because now is the time we're no longer doing those temporary emergency certificates. Some parents are having to meet the requirements of the program. So they have to complete the redetermination with the requirements of working, school, so that they can now move from an emergency certificate to a full 12-month regular certificate. So that is the difference, and that's why that process has to be completed. So if the child is still enrolled in your center and hasn't been coming, you can still claim them. The answer is yes. Just please be mindful that if you have talked to a parent and you guys have began the change of provider process, that you still adhere to those rules. But yes, you can claim that child if they're not attending and the parent has not disenrolled or informed you that they are disenrolling. The next question is, what if you have full-time after-schoolers coming to the center to do virtual full-time? Chad, you want to answer that? You have to claim part-time. We are not at this time paying for full-time care for after-school children.
During the summer months, when they move to, when the schools are out of session, you can claim full-time for those school aiders at that point.
Let's see. This one says, we appreciate all that you do. Thank you. Is there any updated contact information on how to contact DECCD if we have questions? Currently, the wait time is very high. The 1-800 number, the only contact that is currently used. That is our way of contact. We do apologize, but our call center is across the state, and we are answering the calls as quickly as we possibly can. The staff is working, to answer the calls and as well as push out the applications as quickly as possible. Please know that you can check your application online and keep an eye on those, as well as use your portal for your reports of any statuses that you need for your families that's on redetermination. Once we touch them, they get to a new status, and then you can see that and keep up with where the parent is at that particular time. Schools are closed. Oh, this is the right one. Parents that did not meet the redetermination deadline, when can they reapply? They can reapply as soon as they get the termination that they did not meet it, and they can go in and reapply. How do we handle those parents that won't want to transfer but have balances left at the school? You do not have to sign that change of provider form. If a parent owes you money, they have to clear their balances before we can move their child to the other center. So if you sign it or one of your staff sign it in your place, then we're going to process it. So it's very important to make sure you notify your staff to let them know that you're the only person that can sign those change of provider forms if they sign your name. But if you sign it without filling it out completely, we will, with missing information, or you sign it saying, hey, it was 1 day, and then you didn't put your 2-week time period in there, you need to make sure that you fill it out completely. And if they owe you money and you want to get it, please do not sign that change of provider form. We are informing parents to pay you up front before we process it. So it's very important that you try not to sign it. Otherwise, we will move forward. Can you please offer more health and safety trainings or allow us to use the one through the early, but they didn't finish the sentence.
Yeah, we're addressing that the capacity of being able to offer more health and safety training. So hopefully we'll be able to send out notification here pretty soon.
Will the direct deposit PDF be on the MDHS Child Care website? No. That information will come to you via email and mail with instructions. That's not something that we will put out publicly.
Yeah, we're not handling your banking information in that regard. That's why we're going with Regions, and they're using FIS to process that. So like I said, be watching your email, and you'll get also a letter through, like Angela said, snail mail about signing up for direct deposit.
What day each month will the direct deposit be available? We're still working on those dates. Right now, we're still within our timeline of how we process checks on the paper side of when they will be distributed. We'll let you know, but right now there's no date. We're still with our 15th and 31st date for processing and pushing out checks. It was a thoughtful act to provide co-payments. It was to benefit both parent and center. We appreciate it. A lot of people asking for more health and safety trainings. We're getting appreciation. When will we know more about the information sent to OCF concerning the Consolidated Appropriations Act for spending the funds? DECC submitted recommendations for using those funds.
When you say wanting to know more, I'm curious. I know the Office of Child Care posted our letter on how we intended to post that funding on their website. That's available on their website.
Update on when director's credentials will be available. Oh, they said sorry. Already covered.
That's something else. It's slow going, but we're working on that as well.
Will funds be available to help during the summer for learning loss for school-age children?
We do have a plan. We do have something that we're working on to help you all address learning loss. We're working with our procurement department right now to make that happen.
I'm going to reiterate this one because this one's a big, it keeps asking this question. What if the part-time student is attending the center full-time for virtual learning? Is this considered full-time pay? No, it is not considered full-time pay. You will need to claim part-time for students that are virtual learning at your center. The school system closes early Friday. Can school-age students be counted for full day? on Friday, they're there more than 6 hours. If it's a designated school holiday or a holiday for us, you are okay to claim the full time. How do you receive booster funding, or is that no longer available?
The booster shot payments are not available. We used our CARES funding for that. However, with the American Rescue Plan, the stabilization funds are going to be used in a similar, they'll perform a similar function, in that they'll offer financial assistance for providers.
All right, the next one says, Angela, thank you for explaining the temporary emergency certificates have expired. Shall existing providers be expected to sign blank change of provider forms? In other words, does the new provider first complete his or her part of the change of provider form? This is becoming a very stressful situation for some providers, I'm hearing. Please address. The old provider is to, if the parent owes you money, the old provider does not have to sign the change of provider form. The new provider can sign and fill out any of the information that they want for a start date, but they must note that if the old provider has not signed, we're not paying two centers for the same dates. So you need to be mindful that if the old provider has not signed, then you need to make sure that the parent either pays you or ensure that there is no overlap in dates. But if you refuse to sign that change of provider form, you're not expected to complete a blank change of provider form unless you are the old provider. The new provider, the parent does not have to show you who they're going to, but if they owe you money, if the parent owes you money, you need to make sure that you do not complete that change of provider form. I hope I'm answering that question that you're referring to, Debbie. If it's blank, you're the first person if you're the old provider. And unless they owe you money, then you don't sign it. If they don't, then you fill out your part with the 2-week notice period, and then the new provider will be aware that you have released that child from your center, and now they are moving to their center, and the date is there that you say, hey, it's May 5th, and that's the last day of the 2-week notice, and then now I can start them on May 6th or whatever the next date following, but it avoids overlap in dates. Let's see. I think I'm at the end, Chad. A lot of people just had another question. However, we had new providers to sign for us, and we had no clue of the change. Debbie, I do know that we have, she said, however, we had new providers to sign for us, and we had no clue of the change. I can tell you that if you are signing in a provider's spot and you do not have authorization for that, that is considered fraud, and you really don't want to do that. So be careful on that, because if we have to go back and review that change of provider and they do an investigation, that money can be recouped and other consequences. So please be mindful of that. That's the only thing I can share on that part. Please do not forward signatures on change of provider forms. Okay, that's the last question. You're welcome. Here's another one, sorry. Chad, I want a response for implementing of what is on this OCF website for the consolidation appropriation. Will those recommendations not be implemented?
Which recommendation, say it again, which?
Implementing of what is on the OCF website for the consolidation appropriations. Will those?
As I said before, we are implementing those programs. Some of those things that we indicated are taking time. We are paying at the enrollment-based reimbursement. We are reimbursing at the enhanced rate. We are covering copayments. And we're also the other pieces that we said about the learning loss, some of the other professional development pieces and things, we are working on getting those things implemented. Some of them just take a little bit longer to get going than others. We have to follow procurement processes through the state. We're working as quickly as we can, but we have to go through proper procedures to make sure that all the funding is being spent, responsibly. We want to make sure that, again, that we are, that we're adhering to all state and federal laws and requirements. So we just ask you to be patient with us. We're trying to move as quickly as we can. But yes, those are going to be, we are planning, those are being implemented. It's just taking some time.
The ledger question again, that she said she missed it. This was the last one. You mark DNR if the child was not present, but they are still enrolled in your school. You use F and P if the child is in attendance. That was the last question.
We got about 5 minutes left. We got just a couple more minutes to take some more questions. Again, I do appreciate you all taking your time to join us, to join us on these sessions. We are going to continue these in the future. I think these are really fantastic ways for us to, reach out to you all. You get some information from us, have an opportunity to ask us questions. I think it's really important. I will say some things that are going to be coming up in the coming months. I've mentioned before on these sessions that we are going to be looking at our current quality system. We do feel that there are, some changes that need to be made. However, we are committed to making sure that whatever changes we implement as we move forward with the planning of this of a new quality system, whatever it may look like, including the implementation. As we go through that, we are committed to making sure that providers are part of that process. We want whatever we put in place to be something that is beneficial to you all, that it's not harmful to programs, that it supports you all, and in the interest of making sure that we are in the interest of making sure that we are all getting feedback. Probably in the next couple of months, we're going to be doing a road show. We're literally going to hit the road. We're going to go around the state, and I'm going to give you opportunities to address myself and my team directly about what you want to see happen in a quality system. And we'll do a combination of virtual and we'll do some face-to-face options. We will allow for social distancing and things of that nature. And those that would, rather prefer virtually, you'll have that opportunity too. But that is coming. And like I said, just watching for notification from us about that. And I'll probably be getting with the task force and some others to find out exactly where, what all locations, if I have to go to every single county, I will. Just y'all be prepared to hand me a sack lunch as I drive through. I'm kidding. But anyway, so just be mindful of that. Did I see a couple other questions pop up, Angela?
A lot of hold on. Getting a lot of inbox. Someone said, please let providers know that the MECA conference is June 12th, 2021 at Jackson State virtually. A lot of appreciation, thank yous.
Hey, for the conference, is there a link to sign up to register for the conference?
I think someone just posted a flyer. Penny just posted a flyer, so please look in your links for that. Um,
I did see one other question about the booster shot that I'll answer really quickly, and then we are at
Okay.
time unless there's any last questions. Again, the booster shots, we're not doing that anymore. The booster shot, the funding for that came from our CARES funding. However, with the new American Rescue Plan, the stabilization funds, the money is there for us to offer financial assistance, and we will be getting that to you. We are waiting for the guidance from the Office of Child Care before implementing getting those funds out. And we do know that those funds have to be based on operating cost. Exactly what that means, we don't really know yet. But that's why we've asked for guidance from the Office of Child Care. But there is money out there, and I will say it's going to be pretty substantial. So y'all do have some relief coming. We want to make sure that we know exactly what the requirements are from the federal government before we start initiating that. So with that, we are at time. I do appreciate you all so much. We'll leave it going for just a couple more minutes if you have any other questions that we need to respond to in the chat, or that we can respond. I do appreciate you all so much. We're working hard, but we're not working as hard as you all are. So I just want to say thank you for all y'all are doing to continue to serve children and their families. Y'all are fantastic. Please stay safe, and we'll see you next month. Take care. Bye.
Hey Chad or Angela, there was a question, if somebody will please speak about where they, or put it in the chat, where they can find the